Hi, my name is Bovi, and you're watching Rarolae TV.
What's up? It's your girl Rarolae with RLTV, and right now we are with the world-renowned comedian Bovi. Bovi, all the way from Nigeria. Bovi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I like the sound of that, world renowned.
It's true now.
Well, we're getting there.
So I know that you're on your U.S. tour right now. How has it been going along? I think it's about to come to a close. So how has the shows been in the different cities and states?
So far, so good. I mean, we had a full house in Houston, we had a full house in New York, same thing for Dallas. So I'm really hoping to end on a high with DC, And one thing that's peculiar to all the shows so far is that people have been on time. It's usually not the Nigerian factor. People have been on time. It's not like they were in latecomers though, but they lost.
Yeah.
The latecomers lost this time. Yeah.
What do you think was your favorite city?
I will have to wait till I'm done with this year.
Okay, of course, because it might end up
being my favorite. Yeah. But the truth is, the beauty of it is every city was peculiar. So far, every city has been peculiar. In Houston, it was a hall, so we had tables. Okay. But the tables were close to the stage. The stage was beautiful. So it was, people were more relaxed, people had drinks and all that's in the VIP session. In New York, it was a pure theater,
Wow.
So, and because I'm theater trained, and once I saw it, I fell in love. I was at home. In New York, I practically stood on one spot from the beginning to the end. That's like 1 hour 35 minutes. It was just me on one spot. Oh yeah, really I just stood on one spot. So yeah, every city has been peculiar.
Okay, so a lot of comedians, oftentimes they have openers. Do you prefer to have openers, or do you prefer to perform alone, or is there like a middle ground preference?
Well, I have openers, right? Even the show organizers make arrangements for that as well, since it's here in the US, it's taking place. However, I like to do my set. It's a tradition that is actually dying now. You have shows that run by comedians' names, but in actual fact, the comedians end up not cracking jokes in their own show. Other comedians get to do the job. So I'm of the opinion that that's not good for the business. If you call yourself a stand-up comedian, you should be able to stand and make people laugh.
Do you consider yourself to be a diva? Because sometimes people say the show starts at 8 o'clock. They believe that they cannot perform at all costs at 8 o'clock. Like, they might not perform until like 11 o'clock. Are you the type of person that's like, okay, if I tell the people I'm here at 8, I'm going to perform at 8? Or you feel like you must wait, like, to be fashionably late?
Sometimes it's best to wait. If you say you want to start by 8 on the dot and you get there and the hall is empty, it's discouraging. You get so sometimes it's good to wait. Most times it's good to wait. Then when I have a full house, I'd rather go on. I don't like get them when they're fresh.
Starting your career, what were certain obstacles you faced, like getting into the comedy industry?
To be honest, if I faced obstacles, I forgot it. I was a force. I think I'm still a force. When I say force, I mean because I'm very passionate about what I do. I don't take no for an answer. I don't see stumbling blocks. I see stepping stones. I see detours. I don't see roadblocks. So that's just it for me. Personally, staying fresh, reinventing yourself every other time, because you're only as good as your last performance. I'm sure you've heard that phrase before. So we always try to stay fresh. I don't know of others, but a few of us that I know, we try to stay fresh.
And I know a lot of people may not know this, but Not only are you a comedian, you actually did some work with production, and by that I mean you started off with a sitcom, The Extend Family. What was that all about, and what like went into making that production?
Extended family was when I chose to be independent. I had just resigned my job at my job where I was working, and I write. I've always been a writer. Even before I knew writing was an art form, I used to write, So I wrote the sitcom, and I got someone to come on board as a financier, and it was an instant hit. It was like throwing a match where there was gas. So it was an instant hit. But I always knew I was going to do stage. I always knew. It's just that at the time I didn't have the resources to go on stage. So what I did was, okay, if you can put yourself on TV and everybody gets to see you on TV, when you want to make the transition onto stage, it's not going to be difficult, and that's exactly what I did. Yeah. So yes, my first love, I find it hard to choose, but basically three things I'm going to do till the very end is act, write, and stand-up comedy.
And I think you're an excellent actor, even just watching your skits online and everything. Like, if I'm having a bad day, I'm like, let me just go and watch one of these skits because I'm guaranteed to laugh. So I feel like, in addition, I feel like you can really juggle both. Like, as a comedian, like, when you're not performing, people still want to see stuff coming from you. So, like, the skits are, like, what keeps feeding us. Like, oh, okay.
Interestingly, most of the skits I do, most of them, like 99.9% of them, are actually to promote shows. I tell people that comedy is the most difficult genre, in drama, when it comes to acting, basically. So, most of those skits, their lifespans are short.
Yeah.
So when I'm doing a skit, I want to make sure its lifespan is a bit long. It's something memorable, something people can visit after the show and watch and draw some happiness from. So that's just it for me, basically. But I haven't gone into mainstream production all this while simply because it's not a one-man show. Stand-up comedy is a one-man show, But production, film, TV, it's not a one-man. It's not easy. It's very cumbersome. So. But I'm going back there very soon, sooner rather than later, Oh yeah, so you'll be seeing more of me. I want to do a feature-length movie as well. So yeah.
So are you going to feature me in the movie? I can act a little bit.
Yes, I'll feature you as yourself, Raro.
So when these skits, you can tell they take a lot of time though, and like it's not easy to be funny, like to make people laugh consistently. How do you come up with all the different ideas for not only the skits, but for your stand-up comedy, like new jokes and everything? Like, what's your inspiration behind that?
Well, I read a lot. I think I draw from the well of my knowledge. There are certain things that are like residual knowledge to you. You don't know they're there, but they're there. It's when it's time to put them in use that you remember that, okay, this thing happened. I've had this experience. I read about something like this. Let me put it down, But the truth is, your story is key. Your story is very key. When your story is good, even poor acting can be part. What I usually tell my actors is be yourself. I don't want you to be an actor. Be yourself. Play the role you would play. You would play the role in the way you would be it if that was you. You get what I'm saying? Some people, when they're angry, they scream. I will deal with you. Some people, when they're angry, they go, I will deal with you. And the message will get across to you. You get what I'm saying? So if you're not the kind of person who screams when you're angry, I don't expect you to scream when you're angry. Except, of course, we're going into method acting, which means like I want you to live who you are and study a character and become that character.
That really made you say, okay, this is what I'm doing. I love it. Like your turning point, basically.
That will be every good show I've had, and I've had most of my shows have been good shows. I really can't pick one and say, oh, this is it, However, there are certain shows that stand out. When I did Rhythm Unplugged in 2013, I hosted it with Wyclef Sean, and we went on for about 6 to 8 hours.
Wow.
And there was never a boring moment. It was crazy. Prior to that, I had done the Guinness Colorful World more, right? That was like practically one of the biggest concerts put together by a brand in Lagos at the time. I held that show for 6 hours as well, and it was awesome. Basically, the fact that I was feeding from the audience was feeding from me, But that's as a host. For stand-up comedy, I've enjoyed my one-man shows, each and every one of them. Man on Fire, Lagos, Man on Fire, London, and all my one-man stand-up appearances from Ukraine to Australia, Canada, and the US. It's been awesome.
I have to ask you this question because now it seems that social media is definitely having a huge impact on everything. Like, no matter what profession you're in, social media is definitely a huge impact on it. But a lot of times you'll hear people talking about, oh, okay, that person's an Instagram comedian, that person's a real comedian. Do you yourself, as a real comedian, do you feel as if sometimes it gets a little like annoying, I guess, because it's just like, okay, somebody will just take their iPhone and be like, blah 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 blah, and like say a joke, and then all of a sudden they might go from 10,000, 16,000 followers, but they don't have what it takes to actually be on stage and hold an entire crowd. Is it kind of like annoying, like when you see that, or?
It's not. When I see them on stage and I see them not doing well, I feel sorry for them, because many of them do not realize it's a different ball game. What you do on camera is different from what you do on stage, So many of them learn the hard way, but they are beginning to come to terms with it. And some are either just sticking to Instagram or social media, while some of them are actually working hard to make sure they get it right on stage, because trust me, even for actors, there are actors who, when they come on stage, they're a hot mess. But so it's an all-comers affair. With time, the audience would sift the wheat from the chaff, if it comes to that. However, I mean, they are meeting an end. That's the thing. The fact that people are following them with those videos is cool for them and all. You want to do stage, you will have to probably reinvent yourself for that.
What is the craziest thing that's happened to you while you were on tour or like going to do a show?
Okay, I wouldn't say before I said craziest thing that's happened to me, the craziest things I've done twice is I jumped into the audience. Like, there's a name they call it, I don't remember,
Like crowd surfing?
Yes, crowd surfing. I did it in 2013, and I did it this is 2015. I did it early this year.
Wow.
Yeah, in Lagos, I did it. None of them were planned. So I asked the audience, will you catch me if I come? And they said yes. You sure? They said yes. So in Lagos, I went with my back.
What?
And
that is trust.
That's serious trust.
That's so
serious trust. And they caught me, Then I did it again in Asaba. The difference between Lagos and Asaba is that in Asaba, they started to undress me.
Oh no.
So, that's the craziest thing that's happened to me. Somebody took my belt. People dipped their hands in my pocket, took my hanky, lock it. But, something told me, get rid of your wallet before you go into the crowd. So my wallet was in there.
Okay.
Then somebody was taking my shoes off. So I had to turn. And they were trying to take the mic from me in Asaba. So I had to wrestle, Then somebody was trying to take my shoes. I looked at him and kicked out. He let me be. Now, the difference between Lagos and Asaba is in Asaba, I actually planted security in the audience. But the security wasn't enough.
Oh.
They didn't know. Nobody knew security was there for me. But they were overwhelmed, However, they got my belt back. But by then, the belt holes had been cut off.
Oh my God.
The jeans, they were going to undress.
My next question on current events would have to be, recently a lot of different entertainers in the Nigerian industry and even just Africa overall, they've been doing music with American entertainers. So for example, Sarkodie and Ace Hood, Davido and Meek Mill, IOJ and Fetty Wap, Wizkid and Drake. And How do you feel about this, I guess, transfusion of the two industries? Do you feel as if we're moving in the right line, or like?
It's something that has been waiting to happen,
Yeah.
basically, you know. I always knew that when the time came, or when the time comes, rather, um, Nigerian acts and other African acts wouldn't have to beg their way to get
Yeah.
this kind of collaborations, you know. Um, I like it because it's not compromising our style of music. It's not compromising our sound of music, you know. So it's a plus. It's a plus for the industry. It's a plus for us. It will help African music, African entertainment grow faster. It's a plus for the American market as well because we're bringing something new to the table, something they're not used to, you know. So I mean, it's like a breath of fresh air for them. So that yeah, it's a good one. It's a good marriage.
Yeah. And you're actually solely based in Nigeria now, so you can actually hear what people are saying over there. Which collaboration do you think is like the hottest one right now?
Well, because the whiskey one is more or less the latest one, is the hottest one now. Music has been corrupted in the sense that, people churn out music every day, you know. So, some songs, depending on how good they are, you know, that will determine how long they will last in the market.
Right.
I mean, time was when an artist will be able to come on stage and do his songs of last year, last 2 years, and people will still rock to it. Now you can't do your song of 6 months ago, except it was a monster hit. You get, so people tend to move on really fast now. It's the digital age. So yeah, that's it. Whiskey and Drake and what's the other guy's name? There were three of them in that track.
Oh, sorry. And
Skepta. Skepta, yeah.
Sorry, Skepta.
You know, so yeah, I think for now that's a good one.
Yeah. And lastly, this one is probably the most current that happened, but it was the Skiibii death scandal, basically, or we're not really sure right now if it was a hoax or if like there was a miscommunication. But what was your views on that?
See, I think I would just say, do not. I'm happy Skiibii is alive.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a good thing when people die.
Yeah, not at all.
And now we know that it's not a good thing when people die a fake death.
Yeah.
Assuming they faked death. I'm not going to say if they faked it or not. I really am not interested.
Right.
But the bottom line is a young man is still alive. So he has a second chance to chase his career. You know, I know for sure that almost killed his career before he was born. You know? So the good thing is he's alive. Let's let the drama die.
So I know that your U.S. tour has been extremely successful, but you didn't exactly touch all the different cities. And even the cities you did touch, I've been hearing just like feedback online and everything that they want you to come back to those cities as well. So are you going to be continuing this tour in the U.S. and London and other different countries and continents, or what's going on with that?
This is actually the first phase, you know, depending on how things go. It's just that this is the busy period now, peak period in Nigeria, you know, which is my primary market. But depending on how things go, I may come back to do a second part of the tour before the end of the year.
Okay.
And if I don't, definitely I'll be back next year to do those cities I didn't do this year. Okay. For the cities I've done, they will have to wait a little longer.
Or go to the other cities.
What about the other cities?
No, or go to the other cities. They could just travel.
Yeah, or you can travel down and come to the other cities, you know. So, but that's it basically. That's it for now.
And Bovi, I want to thank you so much for coming on my show today and even allowing me into your own personal space right now to do this interview.
Thank you for having me. I mean, who doesn't know Rarolae? So.
He's watching me small right now.
Yeah, I got to watch you small. Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
Thank you. So right now you've seen Bovi on the show. You have to tune in. Make sure that you watch all our other interviews as well. But thank you so much for tuning in to Rarolae TV with signing out.